Stone soup. The poor tramp was very, very hungry. I've been walking through these woods for days and I haven't eaten a thing, he said to himself as he came to a little cottage in the clearing. Whoever lives here is bound to give me something to eat. But the tramp had chosen the worst possible place to ask for food. This was the cottage of Miss Parsimony, the meanest woman in the whole forest. Her larder was always full, but her dishes were always empty. She never invited people home to tea, and she never ate any of the good things that grew in her garden.
"You'll have to save,"
she used to say.
"You never know when friends are going to call."
But to tell the truth, Miss Parsimony was so mean that she had no friends at all. Knock, knock, knock. The tramp rapped on the kitchen door.
"Who are you? What do you want?"
shouted Miss Parsimony.
"Something for nothing, I suppose. Everybody wants something for nothing these days."
Behind her shoulder, the tramp could see strings of onions hanging on the kitchen wall, and on the shelves row upon row of tins, bottles and jars. His mouth watered.
"Go away,"
the old woman shouted.
"You'll get nothing from me. I've nothing to spare."
The tramp could not help noticing how very thin and pale the face was, watching him through the crack in the door. Miss Parsimony looked in need of a good meal too. "Time for the stone soup trick," he said to himself. "I was only going to ask for some water, dear lady," he said, smiling. "I was about to cook myself a pot of delicious stone soup." The crack in the door widened.
"Did you say stone soup?"
"Yes," said the tramp. "I've got the magic stone. I only need some water."
"Wait there,"
she snapped, and a moment later she came back with a pot of water. "How kind," said the tramp. "Won't you join me? I don't want to boast, but they do say my stone soup's the best in the world."
"Never heard of it,"
said the woman as he unpacked an old tin and began to make a small fire outside the garden gate. Miss Parsimony went indoors again, but she watched him from behind the curtains. The tramp picked up a big stone and put it into the pan of water. Then he sat back and watched it boil. Suddenly, the kitchen door opened and Miss Parsimony came and peered over the wall.
"Are you going to eat that?"
she said, making a face. "You're quite right," said the tramp. "Stone soup is always better with an onion, but I'll just have to make do." A moment later, a hand came over the wall holding a small onion.
"Here,"
said Miss Parsimony sourly. "Thank you, madam," he said, adding the onion, then tasting the soup. It's delicious." Miss Parsimony watched with wider and wider eyes. "I can see what you're thinking. Real stone soup is always better with onions and a tin of beans. But I'll just have to make do with the onions and the water."
"I might just have some beans,"
said Miss Parsimony, and she fetched a tin from the kitchen shelf. "I can't possibly accept this," said the tramp, emptying the beans into the water, "unless you agree to share the soup with me." Miss Parsimony scowled down at the bubbling soup and wrinkled up her nose. I know what you're thinking," said the tramp. "You ladies always like lots of mushrooms as well as onions and beans in your stone soup. But I suppose we'll just have to make do."
"I've got some mushrooms,"
exclaimed Miss Parsimony, and she rushed round to the back of the house to pick some, and into the pot they went. "Oh, of course it's a funny colour," apologised the tramp. It's the beef that gives stone soup its wonderful colour, as well as the onion, beans and mushrooms."
"Beef? Beef?"
exclaimed Miss Parsimony, by now quite carried away with the thought of eating real stone soup. So she fetched a tin of beef stew from the cupboard and added it to the soup. The tramp tasted it again. A turnip or a potato would make this fit for a king to eat.
Both! Both!
Cried Miss Parsimony, and she dug furiously in the vegetable patch for a sweet white potato and a purply turnip.
Does it need any salt?
The thick soup heaved and plopped in the pan. Onions and beans and mushrooms and beef and turnip and potato and salt, not to mention the tramp's stone. The smell was mouth-watering. Together they carried the pan into the cottage, and Miss Parsimony laid the table for two. He suggested cheese to go with the soup, but she suggested wine. He thought a crusty roll would be nice. She fetched out an apple pie for pudding.
Oh, that was the best meal I've eaten in my life,
said Miss Parsimony afterwards.
That stone of yours is really wonderful.
It's yours, dear lady. Take it, said the tramp.
What? Are you really giving the magic stone to me?
She said, her eyes brimming with tears.
Nobody has ever given me such a wonderful present. Oh, just think, I can invite people round to tea and cook them stone soup like this every single day. And it won't cost me a penny.
Of course, said the tramp, pulling on his coat. But do remember to add a little salt for flavouring.
No, I won't forget.
And onion, and bean, and mushrooms, and some beef.
No, I mustn't forget them.
And a potato, and a turnip, of course.
I'll follow your recipe exactly.
I do find people like their stone soup best with a few little extras, said the tramp, waving goodbye from the gate.